Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney on this channel. We answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting folks the answers they need from an employment attorney. We have a question here from YouTube user Chris, whose full name I'm not going to share because it might be an actual name. Chris asked us, is there any type of insurance policy and or a legal service plan one can purchase to obtain an employment attorney for representation? Same thing on the flip side, is there any insurance policies out there that would cover the white-collar worker for malpractice? Yes, to both. We'll take the questions in order. So you asked us first, is there any type of insurance policy and or legal service plan one can purchase to obtain an employment attorney? There is. I have a couple of friends who have prepaid legal services, contracts or deals, I guess, set up through their companies. I know I have some other friends who work for major financial institutions, investment banks, and hedge funds who have like employee plans that guarantee them attorneys, although those notably, I don't think those attorneys are able to represent them against the employer because those attorneys are provided by the employer, right? If you work at some very, very large financial institutions, your attorneys are provided, right? If you, I'm not going to use an example here, but let's just say you work at Globo Bank, which I hope is not a real bank, and you make lots of money there and you make Global Bank lots of money, there's a very good chance that if you were to say get divorced or get in a car accident, they would just have the attorney that handles that for their staff handle that for you. That's something I've certainly seen on many occasions. I have had some friends like get divorced and have the Global Bank attorney that does divorces just represent them for free and stuff like that. It's interesting to watch. It's a weird thing. Those attorneys tend to be quite good because the employer has every interest in hiring the best and protecting those high-end staff. Now, there's also prepaid legal services plans that you can enter into, and I've had friends who bought those like for their business and stuff like that. Generally, the issue is that those prepaid legal services plans are motivated to get the cheapest attorneys possible to fulfill the services end of that plan, right? They're charging X amount of dollars a month. Like, let's say they're charging you, I don't know, $60 a month for their legal plan. They then need to turn a profit to go get cheap attorneys who take very little on an hourly basis should you need legal services, right? So I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, an acquaintance got himself in a bit of trouble with the criminal justice system and needed an attorney. But his attorney came in wearing like a tent instead of a suit. Like, the suit was about 7 sizes too big, which, you know, listen, it's not about the suit, it's about the skill, but not an impressive counselor. And the amount of time spent and the amount of work and the quality of representation and the depth of knowledge and the care and attention to detail were, in the view of my acquaintance, quite lacking. Now, the prepaid legal services firm or plan, whatever it is, they were pretty disinterested in his complaints as to quality representation, right? Their take was like, nah, that attorney's a great deal. It's what you get. The end. We got your money. This is what you get. See you later. Good luck. Like, they did not care that he was facing like, and I don't know if this person actually did anything wrong. I don't think they did. But clearly the government thought they did. And so the finest of representation would have been preferable, right? So I don't know that I recommend prepaid legal services unless, you have the means to prepay for the very best legal services. Like, you can just go, I think you're asking this question to essentially like defray the cost of hiring an employment attorney, or be ready to hire an employment attorney at a lower cost should you need one. There are people, certainly, who contact employment attorneys and who just prepay a retainer agreement to have us on call, right? Many years ago, I worked for a very I was on call for like a somewhat famous executive who, she had a certain tendency to get herself in trouble. So it'd be a lot of, hey, I just did this. What do you think? Well, it's 3 a.m., but you're a great client. So let's dig in, right? Times have changed, and we don't generally take that kind of work anymore. But those clients still exist, even here. There's still a couple legacy clients that we've been representing for a very long time who just prepay retainers to have an attorney on call. There's people who just keep a retainer on file and have us almost like on deck to negotiate their custom compensation packages from time to time, right? And that is mutually lucrative for them and for us, right? It's great. It's a feel-good hit. You're just basically going to war and telling an employer who's some multinational, incredibly well-funded business, pay my client more, right? It's a good day. It's a fun day. But I think that's probably outside what you're asking me here. The second part of your question is are there any insurance policies out there that would cover the white-collar worker for malpractice? So immediately, the quickest answer there is errors and omissions policy, right? If you're sufficiently high enough in a corporation, it is a very likely thing that you're covered by an errors and omissions policy, right? If you mess up, you need insurance, and so does the company for your error, right? If you're a CEO or even a board member in some situations, you're making decisions fast. You're decisive, right? And sometimes you're decisive in the wrong direction, and that can cost your company a great deal of money. So, errors and omissions was born. Now, there's always a fight when someone who's covered by errors and omissions insurance engages in an act like workplace discrimination, workplace sexual harassment, because those are often viewed as intentional acts, right? One does not accidentally sexually harass someone, I assure you. That is an affirmative choice, right? Oops, I didn't mean to grope you. Sorry. And I know somebody's like, oh, it happens. Accidents, fell over and I was going to save myself from falling. It was an accident. Okay. I mean, listen, this is a fight for you to have with your insurance company, not me. I don't care. Often, though, what I'm telling you is that when these kind of claims come before errors and omissions insurance providers, they will declaim, meaning they will choose not to honor the policy because they'll say, hey, you did an intentional thing. This wasn't an accident. This isn't covered by the policy. We're not paying. Or we're paying but not the full policy because we think there's a really good chance if you fight with us, we'll win and we won't have to pay you at all, right? So these things happen. And I've talked in other videos about this, how often you'll have like an adjuster from an errors and omission policy come into a mediation being like, yeah, so we're under the policy, but we're only going to honor the policy till like $60,000. The rest comes out of the employer's end. And then it's this weird three-way fight where it's me attacking the employer and the bad actor, and the bad actor attacking the insurance company, and the insurance company being like, man, maybe we just all go to war. Let's see who wins. They seem like they have some solid claims here, but I don't care about you, employer, so, good luck, right? It's always a fun day. Now, there are additional policies that exist to cover things like workplace discrimination, workplace sexual harassment. There are specific policies that exist that I've run into for super valuable execs or professionals who are known to engage in bad behavior, right? Right now, without any identifying characteristics whatsoever, I can think of one somewhat famous executive that we crossed paths with who was a serial sexual harasser. That's being kind. It's an accurate statement, but it's a kind statement. I would say this person was worse than that. Now, that person was covered by a policy, and that policy was fabulously expensive because that insurer knew that policy was probably going to get hit up. And it was more an issue of how often it would get hit up, not whether it would get hit up. So this insurance company, which is a famous insurance company, structured a policy that would be sufficiently wildly expensive to be worth it to them to cover this serial bad actor, right? That's rare. You don't often see that. That happens occasionally, and I've probably run into like less than 5 of those in the entirety of my career. But it happens. And it's really interesting when it does happen because it's almost like a confirmation, like, well, we got to depose the board and ask them why they felt you needed this policy for a serial sexual harasser now, don't we? Right? Yeah, it's fascinating. So I hope, Chris, YouTube user Chris, that I answered all your questions. If I fell short in some way, please let me know. I will try to make a follow-up. If this was helpful, like, subscribe, comment down below. It helps me to help more people just like you, and I wish you all the best. Take care.